Hey everyone, welcome back to Running on Disney. It's Alexis. So we are starting something new here at Running on Disney. I am going to be releasing at least 2 videos a week, sometimes 3 depending. And so let me just give you a little quick of a rundown about what that's going to look like. So I've noticed that I kind of have been getting lax in my YouTube content and uploading and filming YouTube videos. So I decided that I was going to set a schedule and stick to that. So every Monday, look forward to Military Monday, where we talk about spouse life and whatever that entails. But that will be Mondays. Wednesdays are going to be either a vlog or a podcast over on my SoundCloud channel. And then Fridays, Magical Fridays, are going to be for Disney content. Trips, my latest take on a movie, packing, restaurants, all that stuff that has to do with Disney is going to be on Fridays. So, as today is Monday, it is Military Monday. And I thought that today I would talk with you guys about how to celebrate special occasions when your military spouse is on deployment or at a class. I'm going to be using some language that might be unfamiliar to you, so if I do, I will put a little thing down at the bottom of the screen to kind of give you a little bit of an insight. So this video, the whole reason that I'm doing this video today is because it is my second wedding anniversary. I have been married 2 years ago, 2 years today, to my amazing husband Andrew. And as such, I've been thinking ahead to years down the line and what our wedding anniversaries are gonna look like. And I know specifically that next year, we will not be able to be celebrating together as he will be on a deployment. That got me thinking about everybody else who's doing this, and I know that there's a lot because I'm on a bunch of spouse pages on Facebook, and that's something that we tend to worry about because those do hold such a close and dear spot to us that you really need to think about how that's going to affect you. And if you're not military and you're still watching, you also deal with this in regular life. I mean, my entire life we've been celebrating holidays at weird times. My dad worked a rotating shift, so there would be holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, Easter, that he worked, or we had to schedule it a little bit earlier in the day or a little bit later on in the day, depending on his schedule. And I know that there's a lot of people out there, first responders of all kinds, pilots, any job where you have to can be there at the drop of a hat. Everybody understands what I'm saying about having to learn and figure out a way to make that type of schedule work with your family. I thought that instead of sitting here and thinking about all the depressing things that can go wrong, I would talk about ways to get the most out of those times. So for starters, you can celebrate it early. If you know that you're gonna that you or your spouse, depending on who's watching, is going to be missing a birthday, Christmas, and an anniversary, you can plan out those things ahead of time. You can say, okay, so instead of celebrating Christmas in December, we're gonna celebrate it in October because that's when they'll be home. So you can celebrate birthday, Christmas, the anniversary all in one go beforehand. I'm not sure if that's what we're gonna do yet. I think my next idea is what we're gonna do, just because we talked it over and there's a lot happening. You could also celebrate it later, save up. So my husband gets 2.5 days of leave each month, and you cannot take leave while you're deployed. I do know that there's some special circumstances, family emergencies, births of children, that might fall into something else. But as a general rule, you can't take leave while you're deployed. So a minimum of 90 days, a maximum of 15 months. That adds up to a lot of leave. So if you get to the point where you have 60 days, you have to use at least 30 of those in order to keep it. So I know a lot of people's jobs, they don't actually have rollover vacation days. If you use them, you either use them up or in that year or you lose them. And that's pretty much the same thing with leave. So by being deployed and being unable to take those days, you will get a lot. So there's a lot that you can do with 30 days. You can road trip, you can take a staycation and a road trip, you can do a staycation, a road trip, and another vacation, depending on how you plan. So I think for us, what we're going to do is we're going to save up money, we're going to save up vacation days and leave, and we're going to take a very nice trip to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries in our anniversary next year. There's also Skype and FaceTime. Let us be perfectly honest with each other. Communication, especially military communication, has changed so much. Even in the past 40-some, 50-some years, like all my parents could do while my dad was deployed was write letters. Maybe a phone call. I mean, if they were lucky and they had, probably more so when he was in Germany than when he was in Vietnam. But there wasn't a lot in means of communication. Now, I'm sitting here in Texas, and you can be watching this in Europe, you can be watching this in Asia, you can be watching this in South America. So that alone, but the fact that you can FaceTime from the opposite side of the world. There's so many ways to work around that weren't an option. Heck, even in the 90s, they weren't an option. You could talk on the phone. Yeah, most of us, or some of us had computers, but okay, you got mail. And I'm sure some of us that are old enough to remember that sound of the dial-up followed by "you got mail" are kind of cringing because you can hear that loud noise in your head. But communication has changed so drastically, even within my lifetime. Like, we went from having the brick Nokia to having a smartphone, a computer in our pocket. So it's crazy. There's no reason that you can't see your loved one face to face on a special occasion, even if they are over in the Middle East, or even if they're in Europe, Africa, Asia, South America. Or, depending on where they're at, you can go and do a surprise visit. Now, I know when most of us think of deployment, we think Middle East, because, at least in my lifetime, that is where most of those deployed zones have been. For my parents, it was Vietnam, Korea. Yeah, besides Middle East, that's the two. Those are the big two. So, but just because you're being deployed doesn't necessarily mean you're being deployed to the Middle East. You go wherever they need you, which is the same for PCSing. So, I've heard of people who get to go to Italy for a deployment, and I don't know if at that point you can actually call it a deployment, because it's Italy. And depending on your job, you might be in an office for your 9-hour workday and then have evenings free. It just depends. Not everybody has the same type of schedule, because all of the jobs that the military requires are different, mostly. But, who wouldn't want to do a surprise visit for their anniversary in Italy? Again, it's not always going to be that cut and dry, depending on your deployment. But that is an option. If you have the ability to, definitely, because you're going to get to see parts of the world that you more than likely wouldn't get to experience in any other type of life. And I think about the same thing for change of duty stations. We're fortunate enough right now to be close to family, but we're probably not always going to want to be this close to family. So, especially when they're throwing balls against doors to make noise during your YouTube videos. Shout out to my cousins. But take these opportunities as they come up. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you found this informative. I'm sorry if I rambled. There's a lot to talk about with this, but at the same time, also not a lot, depending on how attentive to detail you are and how much you like to plan. So that's it for my first Military Monday. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will have another video coming out on Wednesday that will be all about our first trip to SeaWorld. So look forward to that. This Friday, I'm finally editing and uploading my All About Me video in which I talk about all my Disney favorites. So look forward to those things this week. As always, be good to yourselves, be good to others. Be good to others, guys. Bye. Is on there, and then she's in the back as well, so that's kind of cute. But those were the 3 things that I got last month. So I decided I was going to send away and do the monthly subscription. I get like 30% off for 3 months. So I decided I was going to go ahead and do that. So this is